Hello to all my people, and if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botched Bots and Share Shots. I'm your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and joining me today, coming up on 1,300 days as the GNW Canadian Champion, he's a product of Canadian icon Jacques Rougeau, a graduate of the Nightmare Factory, a Jericho Award winner. He is Black Dynamite Jeremy Prophet. Jeremy, thanks for coming back on, brother. How are you?
Oh, I am fantastic. Great as always. I tell you, it's always a pleasure to come on here and chop it up with you, let the fans know what I've been up to. And I appreciate that wonderful, amazing intro that you gave me there, naming all the titles that I have. And yeah, much, much more where that came from and many more to be added to that list in the future, my man.
So let's kind of start at the top. It's been a wild year. It's been almost a year to the day since you sat down with me. I appreciate you taking the time for a very green journalist at that point. But let's start at the top. Last time we talked, you were getting ready to head into the Wrestling Academy competition. You had a chance to compete in it. You had a chance to go with it. Let's start there. What was that like for you?
Wrestling Academy was awesome. It was everything that I said it was going to be, and gave me the opportunity to catapult my career into a whole different stratosphere. I knew that I was tailor-made for that kind of a competition because I've always prided myself on being exceptional at the things that you're in control of in wrestling, which realistically, you're only in control of three things. You know, the way your body looks, the way your promo sounds, and the way your wrestling, your work looks. So I knew that, I was going to win that competition. People say like, oh, well, would you have any doubts? Were you worried? Not really, because I've been perfecting this over and over since the start of my career. I knew that you have to be good at all those things. Like people will say to me like, oh, well, there were other guys in the competition. Did they worry you? And I'm like, look, man, my competition is Roman Reigns. My competition is Kenny Omega. My competition is not guys that I share locker rooms with on the independent scene on a regular basis. And that's not to sound arrogant. It's just that I want the top spot on TV. I want that. I don't care about, lower level stuff. I try to be as above and beyond that in terms of my skills, ability, appearance, and every other intangible as possible. So I knew that looking at the field of competition, no one was going to beat me. I mean, how would anyone beat me when I was the best looking, best talker, best wrestler? I would understand if there was maybe someone else who did something better than me, but there wasn't. So I knew that eventually when it came down to the judging, they would see exactly that. And that's why I passed every round unanimously without anyone even taking a vote from me.
So in your intro, I rattled off the dozens of things you've done, plus the other 20 that I couldn't get to. You have a historic Canadian career. You've been on the Indies. You've knocked it out of the park. Everywhere you've been, you've had success. Going into the Nightmare Factory with such an established career, what was that like? Because you're not the average green guy going into that program. You know what I mean? You're established. You've broke into the business. You've already had it. What was it like going into the Nightmare Factory, having all the experience you already had?
Well, I was by far the most experienced person there. Not that that really means anything because you're there to learn. So as one of the coaches put it, we're here to take people who are hitting triples and turn them into people who are routinely hitting home runs. And I do feel that it's given me a big boost that now, like you see Jeremy Prophet on a show, you're getting a guaranteed home run. I'm not a cocky guy because people think because of my confidence that in some ways it's cocky. I'm not cocky. I'm just good at what I do. I'm like a 10th Dan black belt in martial arts. Okay. Like I'm that to wrestling. I'm dedicated to my craft. I live, breathe, eat, sleep this business day in, day out. I dedicate myself to it. And yeah, to a certain extent, I want to make those around me a little uncomfortable. I want to make them second guess themselves and be like, wow, he's so dedicated. He's so good. I don't know if I'll ever get to that level. And yeah, I want to rub salt into the wounds because I live for this. I don't just take this as a little hobby. I don't just, live 6 days a week of being a common pencil pushing civilian and then go on the seventh day and get to perform in front of people in an audience that are maybe I'm maybe 5% more advanced in life than. I'm not some weekend warrior. I take this very seriously. I live for this. I want to make my living doing this. I'm not just a guy who's here to have a good time. I'm that guy who will probably rub you the wrong way because I'm passionate about this and because I'm willing to go above and beyond what's expected of me. So, they love that in Atlanta at the Nightmare Factory that I had this experience, but I still wanted to sink my teeth in and learn more. Like, I want to absorb as much knowledge as possible. I want to be like obscenely good at what I do. So, there might have been a little bit of apprehensions that we're bringing in someone who's a little bit more experienced, but no, like, I wanted to absorb every bit of knowledge to make myself that much better.
When you look at your career path, anybody who has that kind of dedication to an art, chef by trade and mark by choice, more than a gimmick. At first 15 years of my career, I spent in a kitchen. I know what it's like to eat, sleep, and breathe a career and make it your life. But one of the biggest questions, no matter your field, is work-life balance. How do you keep it all in balance, working as hard as you do to be who you are?
I think this is what I was put on this planet to do. I mean, it's not hard to balance it. Everything that I do out of the ring has an impact on what I do in the ring. So, all my career choices outside of wrestling are really just to enhance the wrestling. I get a lot of guys who will talk to me and they'll say, "Oh, well, what's your favorite part of wrestling? Is it the road trips? Is it the parties? Is it the?" I'm like, no, it's the wrestling, which is what everyone should be. Unfortunately, it's not. The business would probably be in a much better place if it was. But for me, it's the wrestling. It's the bell to bell. It's the product that you're giving the paying customer, that you're giving the person who slaves 5 days a week to barely scrape together enough money to maybe bring their family to a show. It's that. It's making sure that they get their money's worth. So, when I get to a show, it's like, how do I give them the best show possible? How do I send these people home happy talking about the performance they saw from Jeremy Prophet? And yeah, I want to steal the show every night. Hell, I don't want to steal the show. I just want to earn it. That's the way I put it, is like, look, I want to outwork every person in every locker room that I'm in and make them uncomfortable, because they'll see what I can do and say, wow, I got to step up my game. And I really have no sympathy for anyone who's not on my level. That it's either, you step it up and you give the people what they deserve, or step aside and let the young, hungry ones who are doing this for the right reasons have those top spots.
Throughout your career, you've had a chance. You've done work with WWE. You've had tryouts with Impact. You've done works with GCW. This Nightmare Factory connection allowed you to showcase your talents to yet another top company in AEW. When you had a chance to go up to AEW Dark, what was it like to have a chance to showcase what you were doing for TK?
Well, I've been a big fan of AEW since its inception. I've watched every minute of content that they've put on TV. So being there, being a part of it, it was a natural fit. I love AEW. I got tons of friends on the roster, tons of guys that I'd love to get in the ring with and tear the house down. So yeah, not only did I get a chance to perform for them, but we were actually the first match of the show and the first AEW match to happen in Canada. So that can never be taken away from me, regardless of what happens to myself or AEW. I was the first person. I was literally the first person, wrestler, to set foot in an AEW ring in Canada and had the first match. So that was great. It's really like a Russian roulette, because you don't know who you're going to get. I mean, we didn't know in advance who we were going to be facing, and getting Kip Sabian, it was such a blessing, because the guy is such a great talent. Exactly my style of wrestler. I definitely think, had we been given maybe a little bit more time, a little less restrictions, we could have tore the house down in that opening match. But yeah, and I was very blessed to get a great opponent in Kip, because a lot of other choices probably wouldn't have been as great of a match, but definitely, like, we clicked from the first moment that we started talking, and yeah, I really could not have asked for a better opponent than Kip. He's a G.
So looking at a match, and I know that's a very broad statement, there is, however, a huge difference between a TV taping or like a match for TV versus a house show. When you get ready to go into it, how do you approach both matches separately?
Well, I mean, I haven't really had too many TV matches. I mean, if you count the one I did on SmackDown and then you count Dark, yeah, they kind of fall into the same ballpark. But no, honestly, the preparation's the same. It really is. All that really changes is you're in front of more people, brighter lights. That's about it. I mean, to me, the TV matches are actually easier, a lot easier, because, like, you're not given as much time. I just went out there and have fun. Like, I have fun when I'm at TV. I'm not nervous. I wasn't nervous when I went to TVs for WWE. I was not nervous when I went to AEW. It's like, I walked out that curtain. I'm like, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to soak it all in. I'm going to high five the fans on the way to the ring. I'm going to, get up on the turnbuckles and pose. I'm just going to be me. I've been doing this now for going to be 18 years in about a month's time. Again, I don't know when this episode's coming out, but in about a month's time from now, it's going to be my 18 years in wrestling. I've seen it all. Nothing is going to phase me. I guess there's a little X factor to having done this for 18 years, never getting injured. I'm pretty hard to phase, pretty hard to hurt. And for me, it's just like, I belong here. This is fun. This is easy. I see people that are nervous, and I find it kind of funny, because it's like, this is what I've worked for. Like, I have no insecurities as a wrestler. I know how good I am. I know how good I am in every aspect of wrestling. I know you give me the opportunity to show that, I will show that. People see it. People see that I'm a different breed of professional wrestler, and that's not some catchphrase or some fun little thing that I say to market myself. It's the God's blessed truth, is that find me a Jeremy Prophet. Find me someone like me in wrestling. Find me a guy who is in as good a physical shape as me, looks as good as me, talks as well as me, cuts promos as good as me, and can wrestle as well as me against a wide variety of opponents. I have yet to meet that person. I want to meet that person. I hope before my career is done, I meet that person, but I have not met that person, which is exactly the reason why Jeremy Prophet should be a fixture of your television screens week in, week out. So with that said, I have no insecurity. I don't go to a show like AEW and feel nervous and walk on eggshells. I'm having fun because that's where I should be.
So let's take it back home a little bit. I'm from the deep American South. The JCP territories, the NWA, Memphis, Mid-South, that's what I cut my teeth in, late 80s, early 90s. I live for territory wrestling. When you look at Canadian independent wrestling, Stampede, all the way through to your GNWs now, what's the Canadian independent scene like today in 2023 for you guys?
It's very different. I mean, you can't even say Canada as an entire scene, because it's segregated into territories of its own. Like, I was just in the Maritimes a few days ago, and they're their own scene, the Maritimes. Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia. Then you have more or less my scene, Quebec and into Ontario. That's its own thing. Then you have out west, which kind of all blends together with Alberta, BC, and it's all very different. People don't realize that Canada is a huge, huge landmass, but really only has maybe 2 major cities in each province. And then the wrestling, it kind of homogenizes in each territory to where it has their own style. So I go across Canada, I see what everywhere has to offer. And that's kind of been my crusade is, I hear hype about certain people, certain wrestlers, and I say, okay, well, I want to test their skills. I want to get them in the ring, take them into some deep waters, and see if they're the real deal or see if they're just a hype job. Anyone who calls themselves the best, don't be doing that so long as I'm around in this country, because so long as I'm around, the best you'll probably end up being is number 2. But I like taking guys into deep waters and then making them realize that, oh, wow, like, I'm like 10 steps behind this guy. Like this is a hybrid of the highest level. Like, I'm just a good wrestler, or I'm just a good promo, or I'm just a guy with a body. And I enjoy debunking and exposing myths throughout Canadian wrestling. So there are a lot of guys who are maybe eager to fight me because they know they'll have an outstanding match. And there are a lot who dodge me because they know that they're really just one match with Jeremy Prophet away from getting exposed. And their fans will look at them and say, wow, I thought this guy was good. I guess he's not that good anymore. And I make no bones about it. I'm out there to do that. I'm out there to debunk opponents. I'm out there to take their fan bases. I want their fans to become my fans. And that's the way it is. That's my crusade. But at the heart of it, they will be better off for it, because if you're a big fish in a small pond, eventually, you're going to get exposed. So I don't consider myself a big fish in any small pond. I'm a shark that sails the 7 seas and looks to feast on the so-called big fish. And if they're the real deal, then that's fine. All that means is that the fans are going to get a hell of a match. But if they're not, someone's going to hold them accountable. That guy's going to be me.
When you look at, you said stylistically from territory to territory, would that include the fans? Because in the States, there's a very big difference between a fan that's in, the Carolinas versus a fan that's in New Jersey versus a fan that's in California. In Canada, is it the same way? Do the fans expect something differently from territory to territory?
No, I that's a point that I feel a lot of people embellish. To me, wrestling fans are wrestling fans, and good wrestling is objective, meaning I perform the same way in front of fans all over the country, all over the world. I perform the same way in the Maritimes as I did when I was down in the South performing in Georgia and these kinds of places, being told, oh, these are old school fans. They won't react to these kinds of things. They won't. Look, when you do what you do right, they will. And I don't modify my style for anyone, for any fan group, for anything. I know that what I do is objective and it gets over in front of everyone. Now, I have a pretty big toolbox that I play with and a wide skill set, but for the most part, when you see me perform, I'm not going to be a completely different identity when I go in front of a different group of fans. I know how to get over with the stuff that I do. And I don't let things discourage me. You know, you get guys coming to the back and, oh, that crowd they were really dead. You know, it's going to be hard to get them. And I'm like, no, it won't be hard for me. No. And I'll call my shot. I'll be like, watch my match, watch what I do. It won't be hard. Or they'll say, oh, you know, the ring is in pretty bad shape. You know, you got to be careful out there taking bumps. And yeah, I've heard that before. Usually it's just some guy that's lazy, doesn't want to take bumps. Or the ropes are really bad. That was one we ran into this past week. Oh, the ropes are really bad. I did all my same stuff I would normally do. And you know, I use the ropes a lot. I went up to the top. I was doing moonsaults. I was doing all these things. Just a lot of guys who aren't masters of their craft. You know, a lot of guys who are still white belts in the business. Not to, put down people who are doing this and just starting out, but there are a lot of bad habits that form, and people just kind of go with the flow. I kind of like swimming upstream and just showing them that, like, no, this can still be done. Don't let the lazy person who has already given up on their career but is trying to put on a brave face steer you wrong when you still have a lot of potential and time to get places. Just don't be misled by bad habits. Fans are fans, and if what you're putting out is good, it'll be appreciated by wrestling fans the world over.
Something I'm curious about. Canada's notoriously known for having some pretty harsh winters. How much does the weather affect you guys working wise? Are you guys like the post office? Y'all going rain, sleet, or snow? Like, how does it work? Is it a seasonal? Do y'all go all year? With the harsh winters in Canada, does that affect you guys running on the indies at all?
Oh, well, Jeremy Prophet's like the post office. Rain or sleet or snow, I always deliver. So for me, it's not really that big of a deal. I do a lot of traveling during that time, especially because a lot of guys don't want to. But, there are places like up north, like the first tours I ever did in wrestling. I don't think I ever even talked about this in any podcast, but early in my career, I did northern Manitoba and Saskatchewan during winter. Those were the winter death tours there, the ice roads. It's actually really too much to unpack and get into. But having done that, everything else becomes easy. Like, I recommend to young wrestlers starting out in the business, you want to know if you can make it in this business, go do those winter death tours in Canada, and it will test your mettle. You will be able to decide, is this wrestling thing for me, or should I maybe find another easier, cushy career? Because I will say, after you do that, you do one of those tours and you survive it, everything else becomes easy. Everything else is really a lot more luxurious. And if you can survive that, you will know that you have a place in this business. And I was very fortunate to have done that barely 2 years into my wrestling career. So it was a blessing. It was tough. It was, sometimes spending 30 hours straight in a car going, 30 kilometers per hour. That's kilometers, not miles. Very slow on snowy roads, because if you go any faster, you never know. A moose might jut out in front of you, and you won't be able to stop because the roads are slippery. And if you go any slower, well, you'll probably get stuck, and then we'll have to get out and dig the car out of the snow. So it's a unique experience, but it's one that really, really will separate the men from the boys and will determine if you can make it in this business. Because if you survive that, everything else is much easier. So young wrestlers out there listening the world over, get on one of those tours and you'll find out exactly how tough you are.
Looking at your career, Great North Wrestling, Canadian Championship. You've held that title. My notes said coming up on 1,300 days, but I think we may have passed that already. How's it feel to be the face of a promotion for over 1,000 days? Because that's a big number in the news right now. People are talking about 1,000-day reigns all over wrestling. Jeremy Prophet, you had a 1,000-day reign almost a year ago. How's it feel to have a 1,000-day reign?
Well, you talk about being the face of a promotion like that, 1,000-day reign aside, I think I should be the face of every promotion that I'm a part of. And people are going to say, oh, well, he's being really cocky and whatnot. But again, find me somebody as good as me. Find me that person, please. I want to meet him. Great North Wrestling has been really good to me. They recognize my talent. They recognize what I bring to the table. and they've given me that opportunity. A championship is really just a sign that a company has faith in you. They believe in you. They want you as the figurehead of their company, face of their company, whatever you want to call it. And when it comes down to it, I wouldn't have it any other way, because Great North Wrestling is a company that believed in me at a crucial time in my career when I was, not necessarily just getting my feet wet, but really, chomping at the bit to get to that next level. They gave me a ball to run with, and I've been running with it still to this day. Whether it be facing big names, TV names, whether it be facing big level independent stars, whether it be facing the biggest, the baddest, the most dangerous, I welcome all comers. I've never refused a fight in my entire career. It's one thing I'm very proud of. I might not look forward to certain opponents, but I never turn down a fight. I'm not one of these guys who will complain and bitch and be like, oh, I don't want to face him. I don't want to face him. No, I'll face anybody. I'll challenge myself. And I enjoy stepping in there with, top level names or people who are bigger than me, more dangerous. I enjoy that. And when it comes to Great North Wrestling, it's a great Canadian company. It's given a great platform to a lot of young Canadian talent and given them an opportunity to be seen abroad and help create some networking opportunities too. So I believe in Great North Wrestling. I'm proud to be their champion. I'll defend that championship till the day I die. And I think there's a lot of big things on the way for GNW with the next set of shows that they have coming up. They're really just scratching the surface with what they're going to be able to do and to give the Canadian fans a great quality product. And I do feel that one day Great North Wrestling will be a company that will actually grow exponentially and probably be a company that'll be able to perform, to put on events in multiple provinces throughout Canada. That's the direction it's going in. And I see it happening pretty soon.
So 1,300 days, that's a long time for anybody to do anything. Yeah. How do you stay fresh? You're Jeremy Prophet. You take everything you do every day and you turn it up to 11. How do you stay fresh for 1,300 days and keep putting butts in seats?
Hell, you're looking at it just from the perspective of GNW, but keep in mind, I work a very, very full schedule. This past month, I had 10 events in 4 provinces, which might not seem like a lot to say, oh, you have 10 events. But if you think about it, I was wrestling 1/3 of the month. That's a great schedule. And that's the way I like it, because that is what keeps you fresh. Being in the ring, taking the bumps, taking the hits. And that's where you get your timing. That's where you get your rhythm. That's what it is. That's what's made me good, is having had over 1,000 matches in a bunch of different places in front of a bunch of different audiences, not just being that guy who's the big fish in the small pond, doesn't wrestle outside of a 2-hour radius from where he lives. I like being on the road. I like facing people of different calibers. And that's been the story of my career. I can face someone who's, barely started in the wrestling business. I can face someone with twice my experience on a week-to-week, on a day-to-day basis even. So that's how you stay fresh. It's being in there, wrestling as much as possible. That's my mandate. That's my crusade, to wrestle as much as possible, to do the best match every single night until the big companies start taking notice and say, hey, this Jeremy Prophet, either this guy's the best worker, the best salesman we've ever seen, he talks a big game, or he's the real deal, but let's give him the opportunity to show it. Because you give me that opportunity, I tell you, I will run with that ball further than anyone in any aspect of wrestling. On the mic, in the ring, the way I look, on a poster, behind the scenes, whatever it is. I'm built for this. I'm built to be successful. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I get it, because I'm confident in what I do. And a lot of these people, they're not confident. They have insecurities. They don't have the moxie and the courage to say these kinds of things like I do in interviews, because they're insecure. I'm not insecure because I've done this for so long. I've been so good at it. I'm not afraid of failure, but failure and we've been estranged for, pretty much my entire career. So it's not something I worry about. It's not something that's even in my peripheral.
So let's talk about the International Wrestling Syndicate. They're literally right there in your backyard in Montreal. They had a show with GCW. You got to cross paths with some great American workers like Alec Price and those guys, but you got to represent Team IWS as well. Just another check on the box as far as top promotions you've had a chance to work for. What was it like doing a dual branded show with GCW?
It didn't really feel much like anything other than a regular IWS show. They routinely bring in people from the American independent scene, so it was another day at the office. I got to work with, there was some great talent there, no doubt about it. Would have liked to sink my teeth into some better talent. No slight on those guys. Just, I always want the best. I want whoever's got the championships. I want whoever's got the hype, whoever's got the followers, whoever's got all of that. So while it was great getting a chance to work with some different people, no, I want championships. I want big names. I want blood. That's what it comes down to for me. If I'm being perfectly honest, I could just do the politically correct thing and come on here and say, yeah, it was a great opportunity and all these things that everybody else says in interviews. But honestly, we were the opening pre-show match. Four guys who are, yeah, I guess mainstays of GCW. I get it. Great talent. There's no denying that. Every single one of those guys was a great talent. But no, I want main eventers. I want top level guys. I want whoever's got their championships. I want the Cardonas. I want the Moxleys. I want the Masha Slamoviches. I want those people. So no, I'm not satisfied when I'm in that position. And I'm a guy who's not satisfied if there are people that don't work as hard as me that are rewarded more than me. So that's my unfiltered thoughts on that event, and that's pretty much It was good to get to work with GCW in that capacity. Would love to work with them again. They're a great company. They're a great grassroots company that have managed to build up their stock to a tremendous level with limited resources compared to some of the bigger companies out there. But it was not enough for me. No.
XZW now, another great Canadian promotion. You do hold tag team gold there. You and Brad, currently the tag team champions. Y'all just defended them probably a week ago, 10 days ago or so. Is there a big dynamic difference between Jeremy Prophet, the singles competitor, versus Jeremy Prophet, the tag team champion?
No, really no. When you see me in a tag team, just as efficient as when you see me in singles. I enjoy both. I'm a master of everything. Whether you see me in a 6-man, whether you see me in a 10-man Survivor, you see me in a Battle Royal, you know that Jeremy Prophet is going to go in there and is going to rip a ton of ass and make sure that people are held accountable and held up to that same level that I perform at, regardless of what the match is. So, the playing field may change, but the game stays the same when it comes to Jeremy Prophet. XZW is a great company, by the way. Really another company that has seen tremendous growth over the last couple of months. And it's a place that everybody loves. One of the best things about XZW is the wrestlers all have great attitudes. They all have a good time when they're there. It's a great atmosphere behind the scenes and great performances for the fans as well. Everyone wants to do well there. And it's a company that I think is going to see even more growth in the months and years to come.
Looking through your career, it would be hard-pressed not to talk about some of the legends you've laced up with. One of which, since the last time we talked, Rey Mysterio got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. You had a chance to lace up and go with Rey in a match at one point in your career. What was it like to have a chance to work with Rey Mysterio?
Well, no doubt about it. Rey is a legend, and people may or may not know this, but Rey influenced a lot of my in-ring style, specifically my work as a babyface, which is my preferred work. Rey is a big influence on it. I mean, now that I've mentioned it, people will probably look at some of my matches as babyface, and they'll see a lot of traces of similar stuff to Rey. But it was a great experience, and I mean, he's so dynamic in what he does, in the fact that he can have a great match with people of many shapes and sizes. He can face guys, 5 times his size and have just as good of a match with them as he can with someone who is, around his same size, a cruiserweight. Rey is just so dynamic, so good at what he does, so deserving of that Hall of Fame induction while he's still got gas in the tank and still going week in, week out. And Rey is a guy who is great with helping elevate the people around him, the people that he works with. So it's also something that I try to do. I try to do it in more of a violent, militant kind of way. But it is the goal of this business is to elevate those around you so that we can all make money together. But yeah, Rey is just tremendous, great human being in and out of the ring. Can't say enough good about him. If you want a little anecdote about Rey, one of the things I remember was when I did my match at SmackDown, Rey was actually one of the few that watched it and gave me feedback. And I always appreciated that from him. And that was before we got the chance to wrestle years later at IWS. And so, it was awesome. And Rey graciously, he put me over in that match, put me over on the mic afterwards. So, and that was, when I won the IWS championship. So, nothing but good for me to say about Rey. He's great. I hope he I hear he could be retiring soon, but I hope that we still get many more years out of him, because to this day, I'm very entertained by watching him week in, week out on TV.
So this was me doing my due diligence here. I re-listened to our interview from a year ago, and you told us a story about you and Kevin Steen. You said at the beginning of that story, though, you had a better story about Sami. Do you remember your Sami story?
Well, I lived it, so obviously I do.
You wanna dive into it, because this was one of those things when I re-listened, I was like, how did I not ask him for the Sami story right then and there? So I'm asking now. What's your story on Sami?
You mean the story with Sami where we were at the same tryout in 2010, and the agents had asked him if he knew any of us, so that one of us would be blessed with the opportunity to have a dark match, and he totally denied knowing me, despite the fact that we had actually wrestled and were from the same scene. And while we weren't friends, we were people who would talk on occasion when we'd be on the same show and whatnot. I once hung out with him outside of the Bell Center after a WWE event as well. Yet he somehow didn't know me, and chose to just lie to Billy Kidman and Jamie Noble, because for whatever reason, I don't know, people got to him, or he believed the hype about me online a little too much. I don't know, but there was a very big slight there from someone who, not that I considered him a friend, but someone that I don't think I ever did anything bad to him.
At least a colleague, right?
Colleague, exactly. And again, I don't think I ever did anything bad to him. If I did, I'd love to know. But it's the story of this business. There are a lot of people who are cutthroat, who step on people to get places. Me, I always just said, hey, I just need to work harder than the next guy. I've never put a knife in anyone's back. So to me, it's kind of surprising when you have someone who's nice, friendly, they shake your hand. Like, if I don't like someone, I won't shake their hand. I don't. If I don't like someone, I want them to know I don't like them. And some might say that's unprofessional, but it's like, no, because I'm not a hypocrite. I don't want you to think, hey, why is that guy shaking my hand? Why is he acts nice to me and then he's saying things bad about me? It's like, so I don't do that. I don't shake someone's hand if I don't like them. I want them to know, I want them to have the courtesy of knowing where I stand. And for some people, they'll say, oh, that's unprofessional. No, it's not. It's actually, to me, more professional, because I don't want that person to think that we're cool. And then if I'm in a situation and I'm speaking the actual truth about them, they think that, oh, he's talking behind my back, but he's so nice to my face. To me, that's being more professional, at least letting people know where you stand. I will never put a knife in someone's back. I will put the knife right between their eyes. I will put it right through their heart. I will twist it and I will watch them die. I will not put a knife in someone's back. So that kind of seemed like a knife in my back, because I've never done anything to this guy.
This has become my final question. And I've started asking it recently to everybody for the same reason, because I'm going to get a totally different story every single time. So you've had this illustrious 18-year career, well over 20 title reigns, 1,300-day title reign as Great North Wrestling Champion. Everything you've done, all of your experiences and everything you know. Go back to day one, night one, match one. What experience, or what do you give rookie Jeremy? What advice do you give him? What do you tell him about the career you're about to lead?
So I'd probably tell him, you should probably look into becoming like a dual citizen with the United States, or that kind of thing. That would save you infinite headaches, and that would make the path to the top much, much easier. I think I said that in an interview I did with Shane Hawk on his short-lived podcast. But it'd be exactly that. That's the only hiccup. Man, if I was on your side of the border, I'd probably be a lot bigger of a star. But unfortunately, they don't look to Canada. It's been the narrative I've always been saying. Canada still has tons of great talent. When the big boom happened with NXT hiring the best of the American independent scene, unfortunately, this part of North America was overlooked. So there's still lots of great talent here chomping at the bit. I'm just the most vocal, the most noisy about it, I guess you could say, because I know how good I am. I know how good I am compared to people that are on TV and people that you see week in, week out. So I can put my money where my mouth is. I'll put all my money where my mouth is. I already do. But yeah, there's a lot of other great talents that got left behind, and they're just very ho-hum. The good old Canadian thing, drinking Tim Hortons and, letting be, living and letting, live and let be. Is that the expression? So just living and letting be. That is not me. So yeah, with that said, that would be the advice. It's really just, you got to get that exposure. You got to get people to know who you are. You can't be a tree falling in the forest with no one around to hear it, because you do not make noise. So I'm going to make a lot of noise, and I will take down the entire forest with me. so that people notice that, hey, we got a lot of great talents here in Canada. We ought to be doing something.
All right, Jerry. This is the part that is still exactly the same, though. I always end with 5 random questions. I got 5 fresh ones queued up. You ready?
Yep, let's do it.
What's your favorite movie?
I'm not a big movie guy, but I think my go-to answer is always The Departed. I think it's just so well written, the twists and turns, and great acting as well.
Solid pick. Question number 2. Are there any conspiracy theories you think hold water?
Tons. Way too many to get into. Most of them.
That's a perfect
let's just
answer.
say most of them.
I love that answer. You said you didn't watch a ton of movies, so this will probably be an easy one. Would you rather read a book or watch a movie?
A movie, totally. The medium of understanding is changing so much. I feel eventually, with all this talk of AI and the way technology is advancing, books are unfortunately going to become obsolete. They're going to become, things in a museum.
Question number 4. Do you know your Hogwarts house?
So, believe it or not, I had never seen anything of Harry Potter up until COVID, and then I watched all of them. So it's not exactly foreign in my mind, but it's not exactly fresh in my mind either. So no. How does one go about knowing or learning their Hogwarts house? Is that like based on date of birth?
I don't know. I think it's a test or something. I've seen them online, like like the silly little Facebook test, like click this link and it'll like pull your information and tell you. I've asked it before, and some guys have looked at me like, "Well, I've got no fucking clue what you're talking about," and some people are like, "Yeah, absolutely, I'm a Hufflepuff or a Slytherin or whatever." Like, no problem. So yeah, apparently it's some kind of quiz, and you'd be amazed how many people can just rattle it off too.
Wow. Okay.
Final question, number 5. You're on the road. You have to make a choice between tacos or a cheeseburger. Which one are you gonna pick?
So that's an interesting one because here in Quebec, we don't have Taco Bell. So we don't. We had it for a while, and then I think it went belly up. But when I was down in Georgia, I did enjoy me every now and then when my strict diet would permit it. I enjoyed me some Taco Bell. It was delicious. So I would say a taco over a cheeseburger. I also don't like cheese. I don't eat cheese. So yeah,
Really?
even the tacos. I don't eat cheese. There are things that I don't eat. Here, you want an exclusive? There's like the Jeremy Prophet things. So I've never drank alcohol. I've never drank orange juice. I've never drank coffee. I don't like these things. What else is there? Certain fruits that I would never touch. Absolutely never touch. Never ate a banana. Yeah, there's a lot of just things that are absolute that it's like I will not have these.
That's wild. I have a few though. I have a few. Like, I won't eat green peas. I refuse to eat green peas. Like, it's just one of those things.
Fair.
Like, I don't like them.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm that way. I'm absolute with certain things. I don't force myself to have anything I don't like. I walk my own path. It's many people try, and I will not give in to temptation.
All right, Jeremy. This is everybody's favorite part now, because I'm going to shut the hell up. Put yourself over. Tell everybody what's coming. Put your socials over. Plug everything you need to.
Well, in terms of what's coming up, I'm wrestling week in, week out. I have a full schedule, but it's not nearly full enough. Still got a lot of room for a lot of bookings. So the promoters out there who hear me, you want to see what I'm all about. You want to be able to have Jeremy Prophet on your show and say, you know what, I saw him on this interview. He talked a big game and he didn't live up to the hype. Hey, you can try to be the first person that's happened for, but that just don't happen. If you want to book me, I'm not hard to find. You can find me on Twitter at Jeremy Prophet, just like this man did. You can find me on Instagram at The Real Jeremy Prophet. You can find me on Facebook. I have a Jeremy Prophet page on there. I'm pretty much everywhere. You can see me on YouTube with Jofo in the Ring. Also, you can catch me upcoming on Wrestling Academy. Have to put over Wrestling Academy, Jacques Rougeau's wonderful project. The one man who is giving opportunities to wrestlers all across Canada, Jacques Rougeau. He has opened the door for me, for Jessica Black, Matt Black, for Dylan Davis, got us down to Atlanta, gave us $5,000 each for winning the competition, ton of exposure. And he's doing the same thing this year for other great talents, men and women, who now have the opportunity to win $10,000, twice as much as I got, and the same 3-month scholarship down at the Nightmare Factory with QT Marshall, Billy Gunn, and the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. So Jacques is actually doing what I said should be done for Canadian talent, and that's getting eyes on them, helping to be a catapult to the American scene where they'll get to learn from the very best, and most important of all, make those connections. So thank you to Jacques Rougeau. Thank you to QT Marshall. I'm going to be an intricate part of that project, and we're going to find out who the next winners are going to be in a couple of months. Semifinals are coming up, then the finals, and I encourage you all to check it out. Go on to wrestlingacademy.ca and wrestling-academy.ca, I believe, and you can follow the competition, because believe me, this year is even better than last year. This year, let's just say, I had no doubt I was winning last year. This year, I would have had maybe, at least a little bit of doubt that there could be someone that could show up, and maybe, if the stars align and, maybe I'm having a bad day and they're having their best day, there's a chance I could have gone home. That's how good the caliber of talent is this year, men and women. So, I can't say enough good about Wrestling Academy. Jacques Rougeau, who put it all together, he is the man, and he is helping Canadians get to be in a better place and have a little bit extra money along the way and a hell of a lot of exposure. So I'm going to be very much a part of that. And in terms of other things that I have coming up, well, look, I'm going coast to coast here in Canada. I want to fight the best. I want to fight the best in the world. So, if you want to test your mettle, if you want to hold yourself accountable and find out where your place is in this wrestling business and just how good you are, there's a guy named Jeremy Prophet chomping at the bit that will give you the best match of your career, but he may also give you the beating of your life in the process. So be careful what you wish for, but know that when it comes to Jeremy Prophet, you get a guy that's better than the guys you see on TV, better than you ever have been, better than you ever will be.
Jeremy, I appreciate the hell out of your time, brother, and thanks for stopping by and chatting about some wrestling with me, man.
Always a pleasure. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. For Black Dynamite Jeremy Prophet, I am the Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.